All right, so here is my TEM post-assessment walkthrough. So first here we have obviously the TEM. The sections that are highlighted in green are where I currently assess myself. The sections highlighted in red were my goals that I set on September 15th. So as you can see on the active learning, I feel like I'm currently at the adaptation level. Primarily because I don't feel like I have as robust of a toolbox as I had hoped. For the collaborative learning, I have not been successful in using tech tools to collaborate, which is evidenced by like the feedback from my collaborative lesson plan. So I think that it just fell short. For the constructive learning, I think again this has to do with me not having as wide of a toolbox as I want. And then for authentic, I feel like I met my goal here, especially looking at some of the simulations that my classmates use, like the PhET, the one that Annalie used for a collaborative lesson plan. I'm seeing how we can use tech to connect to the real world. For goal-directed learning, I think that I exceeded my original goal, primarily because of the functionalities of Google Sheets that I discovered. So I have that whole learning goal about using Sheets to set goals and measure progress towards them. So as far as answering these prompts here, the one I think strategy that Doak introduced us to would be the actual lesson that we did with the geography. I think that was a really powerful way to use tech to collaborate in meaningful ways. Because like I said, I think that's my weakest area on the TEM, and seeing how it can be used to enhance learning, because students are having to work together to, figure out like the 30 types of weather patterns or like the 4 seasons. And then they're also like working on their own here. They're working on their own to create their own country, and then they're coming back together to collaborate. So I think for me, seeing how slides became a medium for which that collaboration happened was impactful. As far as a classmate, I think GeoGebra was the most interesting one for me. I personally tried to use Desmo's Classroom on my collaborative lesson, and we saw that there were some real limitations with that, especially in terms of accessibility in UDL. The fact that you cannot differentiate text through like changing size, color, heading, all of those things I think are real barriers for students. And GeoGebra has those features, which for me is enough to consider using GeoGebra exclusively. In terms of the area I've improved the most, I would say that it has been my integration of multimedia elements into my portfolio. Today, for the first time, I found myself like wanting to record a video to do my reflections instead of like sitting here and typing out a whole paragraph. And we can see that like, even on the TEM pre-assessment, right? That was where I noticed it. Let me see here. On the TEM pre-assessment, I went through and I typed out all these different categories. And then I was looking at that today and I was like, oh God, I do not want to sit here and type 5 categories out like that. So I just recorded a video. We're required to do a video, but I was excited to do it. And again, like if we're looking at maybe my tech dive with LaTeX, this is the very first thing I think I wrote on my portfolio, and it is a lot of text. I have these pictures, there is a video, but I felt like it was pulling teeth to get me to record that video. And being forced to use these multimedia elements has really made me consider, accessibility in UDL. Even though it's often more convenient for me to sit and write, that is not the most convenient or productive way for a student to receive information. So going forward, I think that entering every activity, like looking at every activity that I will use in a classroom from the perspective of how can I use multimedia elements to enhance this delivery. I think that's a real takeaway for me. So yeah, in terms of the 10 post-assessment, I think that just about wraps it up. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with my progress. I think, especially in terms of the active area and then the goal-directed.